Kevin Hincks, co-host of Fast Market, live from the CBOE, is with me. And so we got a lot of good news from Nvidia. One part, the data centers, showed some weakness, but even with Nvidia pulling back slightly, the indices are looking at least with up arrows. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts.
Good morning, Nicole. Yes, in the whole picture of things, Nvidia is now, it was down all night. Not big numbers, 2%, between 1% and 2%. Now it's inched back higher to much closer to unchanged on the day. So Nvidia, the news they put out, highly publicized, it's turning out to be almost a non-event, right? As they put out numbers that were impressive, a couple areas of concern, but all things considered, the prospects of more chips sent to China, a lot of good news coming out of Nvidia. There was a lot of discussion that the stock may back off after the earnings event. Not so much. It's down less than 0.5%, Nicole. So a good start to the day here. And part of that, we got really good revisions to GDP, good solid jobless claims. Let's get to those now. So the first revision to second quarter GDP from 3% to 3.3%. Remember, because of the big decrease in imports from the first quarter, we got a jump in GDP up to 3%. Now 3.3%. Why? The revisions was due to upward revisions in investment and consumer spending, partially offset by downward revisions. Here's more good news to government spending and upward revisions to imports. So lower government spending, higher imports. All things considered, GDP now 3.3%. Personal consumption expenditures revised from 1.4 to 1.6%. So strong numbers, strong revisions from GDP. As we look at the first revision, we'll get another one in late August, as you know, or late September, as you know. Also, we got jobless claims, first-time filers for unemployment insurance, 229,000. That's down from last week's 234 revised, and the continuing claims, 1.954 million. So the 4-week average for jobless claims now 228.5 thousand. Good, solid numbers here that is basically taking any concerns of the Nvidia earnings, bringing now the futures up slightly on the day, Nicole.
Yeah, and just back to Nvidia, and Jenny is going to go through this a little bit, but something that I've been talking about for a time is that the Blackwell chip to China has been something that has been discussed on and off, and I see once again that has come up this morning, and that could be some really good news for Nvidia as well. I saw a buyback. There were a lot of bits and pieces. We'll comb through that in a moment. When you think about the GDP numbers here, we're seeing strength in the economy. None of the guests I speak with are worried about recession or depression or things like that. Most of them think the economy is doing pretty well overall. I guess there's a concern about stagflation, but for the most part, people seem comfortable with how the economy is. As far as jobless claims and the continuing claims and such, we had a very tough print on the last monthly print. However, unemployment at 4.2% is still very doable and not problematic at this point.
The good news about jobless claims, and you're accurate to say that they had been drifting up from 217 into the 220s, 235 last week. So it's nice to see them break back down into the 220s at 229,000. Remember, this is a weekly number. It's high frequency data. So you look for trends, and they, in all honesty, had been creeping up the last few weeks. So a nice little break in the trend there that a lot of people will be watching. In terms of GDP, good solid numbers, and why the numbers went up, right? Increases in consumer spending, downward revision in government spending, and higher imports. All good news for the U.S. economy. So the picture that the revisions to GDP is painting, pretty solid for the U.S. economy, Nicole.
Yeah, we'll take it. I mean, when you think about some of the other big picture stories here, I mean, we did hit a record again for the S&P 500 yesterday. The Dow hit a record last Friday. This looks like it's going to be the fourth winning month in a row for stocks for all the major averages. What are you hearing big picture?
Well, so much was built into Nvidia's earnings, right? There was how many stocks? As many as 70 people were talking about were going to be affected by Nvidia's earnings, and Nvidia's earnings didn't disappoint. They showed strength, they showed continued growth, a couple areas of concern, but nothing that would be considered a tone change for AI. AI is still moving in an upward direction, still accelerating to the upside. So in all things, as we get to after Nvidia's earnings did not scare the children, Nicole. Everyone is still feeling good about AI and the prospects for hyperscalers, although those stocks are doing well this morning. So nothing but good news out of Nvidia as it turns to the complete universe that Nvidia is in.
Yeah, I mean, definitely AI is still fueling demand, fueling the story, fueling the stock market. Thank you, Kevin Hincks. Great to see you.